Hi, welcome to Vermont Craft Tours. I'm Sarah,
And I'm Rick.
and today we wanted to tell you about how we became shepherds. It was a bit of an accident, but a happy accident, I think. Um, so when we moved up here in 2005, we were looking for housing, and we eventually found our current place um, in and moved in the winter of 2006, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we knew from the start. We even had negotiated with the owners that we bought it from. We knew from the start that we needed to clear cut some of the land out front because the driveway was like a
Treacherous.
ski luge, one of those long jump luges you see on the Olympics.
It still is.
It still is. But a little sunlight we knew would help that. So we removed some trees. We actually ended up with a really nice view of Killington Mountain. And the question at that point was, how do we keep the forest from regrowing? Because it's really aggressive here in Vermont. The native terrain and plants are all, thorny shrubbery and white pine trees that grow really quickly. And so we were sort of debating our options. We were looking at tractors and we were looking at different things.
But the hillside is quite sloped, and so a tractor could be, dangerous.
Yeah. Nobody really wants to tractor on a slope of, plus 15, 20 degrees. So I had been knitting for a couple of years at that point and was really starting to appreciate, all the farm grown wools. And Rick, you were doing some web work for a local farmer.
Yeah, a local farmer who had a sheep business. She was raising Navajo churro sheep, and that's another story where how we got our Navajo churro sheep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Rick was working with her and finished up the website, and like a lot of farmers, she didn't have a ton of cash on hand. So I think, sort of jokingly, one day she goes, "Oh, what would you pay you in sheep?" Take that as payment. And Rick made the mistake of coming home and telling me this. And I went, "Ooh, actually, yeah."
Well, I wasn't against it at first either. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize at the time what was involved with getting the sheep, and it is an expense to get started if you don't have a farm already set up. Our house was a lovely cape in the woods, but it wasn't set up for farming. So I was a little hesitant, but at the same time, I wasn't interested in driving a tractor or the expense of a tractor as well with this hillside. So we decided to at least investigate it.
Yep. So we did some research and we asked the woman what we would need, and she came over and kind of looked at our land and said, "Okay, well, you could put shelter here, you could put fencing there. You're going to need water." We priced it all out, and yeah, for about the cost of a new tractor, we got our fencing and our barn and our new well dug. And then that summer, so that was kind of a frantic time in the spring and early summer, and then later in that summer, we got our first flock.
Yeah, so 2008, the summer of 2008, we completed the barn, the pasture, set up the water, and had first the delivery of the llamas.
Right.
The day before the sheep arrived, so that the llamas were here. And then we took a delivery of our sheep, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yep. We'll tell you a little bit more about our current flock in another episode coming up soon. But what I really like about keeping sheep is that it's pretty easy. I tell people it's easier than having an indoor pet like a dog or cat because you don't have to take them on walks. You don't have to scoop a litter box. You don't have to scold them for scratching up the furniture. Yeah, and if you're not breeding and worrying about, all the stress of lambing, then basically it's just, feed some hay or turn them out on a new piece of pasture. Rick does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to moving fencing in the summertime.
Right, and you help with all the heavy lifting, that is cleaning the barn.
All the manure lifting, yeah, which we don't do, as frequently as we could. We sort of save it up for special occasion and do a few cleanings a year. But between the two of us and just having a small flock, it's pretty manageable. So yeah, if you're interested in getting your own flock of sheep, I recommend going the way we did, which is finding a mentor. Maybe reading about breeds of sheep you'd be interested in, or what breeds people keep near you. Environment plays a big role in kind of the ease of keeping certain breeds. And then just find someone you can kind of shadow. Go to their farm, help them with chores. And also join your local association, sheep and goat association, sheep and wool board, or whatever you have in your area. And they're usually a really good resource for new shepherds. Our Vermont Sheep and Goat Association teaches a lot of classes for not very much money, and you can get started, and you can also kind of refresh your education or learn things that maybe your mentor wasn't as strong in, but things like parasite control or nutrition.
Just don't get bogged down in those things. It is something that's controllable. It's something that with a little bit of research you can learn about. And as Sarah said, find a breed that works for you. Whether it's because of the type of the fiber, or whether you're perhaps interested in raising meat, or whatever the case may be. But you want to make sure that there's a market for whatever it is, if that's what you're in. If you're doing something other than a spinning flock.
Right. If you're doing something more than you're just yourself, you also want to look at products and how people are marketing their products and what channels they have, whether they're selling to grocery stores or whether they're selling to local yarn shops or farmers markets or things like that. Yeah. So that's great. So yeah, look up sheep and come visit us, and you can visit our sheep too. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to get all the episodes.
Cheers.
We have identified autumn period as a difficult time of the year due to dry climate conditions to finish lambs or even run lambs for full stop. So we have designed a trial to see if we can maximise both profit and productivity by running lambs on fodder beet, with the conjunction of adding meadow hay and fodder beet and the likes to ensure they have a balanced diet. So we have 3 mobs for this trial. One as a grass control, identifying what a normal farming system would do by running lambs on grass through the autumn. Second mob is a mob on fodder beet and meadow hay. And then the third mob is fodder beet and pea hay, with the theory that the pea hay, being a slightly higher crude protein product, will mean the lambs will grow slightly better than on the meadow hay ones. The 3 main mobs of lambs were weighed in every 2 weeks in intervals, so we can show a growth curve of how those animals performed on the 3 different diets. As you can see by the first graph of the lambs on the control, we had a big variation in their growth rates, with exceptional growth for the first 2 weeks, and then due to autumnal thrift with worm burdens and the likes, we have a decline, and then it comes back up again after a drench. And we see a huge variation in the first mob of lambs on the grass control. The second mob is the lambs on fodder beet and meadow hay. As you can see, both for this mob and the pea hay mob, we had a slight decline for the first 2 weeks on the fodder beet. Now this is just through transitioning on the fodder beet, getting used to eating bulbs and getting adjusted to a different diet. From there we see a slight increase, and although we didn't get a huge growth what we were hoping for, the lambs average around 100 grams a day, just slightly below. The second graph here, we show the variation in the production of the grass versus the fodder beet, the 2 main feed sources for the lambs. As we can see, the first 5 months of the period were extremely dry, so up until February we saw average to poor growth rates on the grass of ranging about 20 kilos a day. Now the fodder beet was converting moisture slightly better and was doing 80 kilos of dry matter a day. From here we managed to get some rain, which showed a huge increase for the fodder beet. We jumped up to 200 kilos of dry matter a day, where the grass only managed to get up to about 30 kilos of dry matter a day. From here both continued on pretty well, with from mid-May through till end of June, the ones on the fodder beet managed to keep trucking on about 114 kilos of dry matter a day, which is pretty exceptional, and whereby the grass carried on its 20 to 30 kilos. So by the end of from November through till end of June, we managed to see the fodder beet grew a total tonnage of around 27 tonne of dry matter to the hectare, where the grass averaged 5.5 tonne of kilos of dry matter to the hectare. So as we can see, there's a huge difference in terms of carrying capacity by the amount of production we'll produce. As we can see, the grass control mob averaged a little bit over $1,000 a hectare in terms of revenue per hectare. That's net revenue per hectare, where at the extreme of the fodder beet and pea hay yielded just over $4,300 a hectare, which we're wrapped with. Along with that, there was 1,200 kilos of live weight produced on the trial period. So by the end of the trial, we were absolutely wrapped with the end result, especially given the season of being such a dry early autumn and then a bit of rain at the end of it. So to exceed both 1,200 kilos of live weight per hectare and $4,000 plus per hectare, we're absolutely wrapped. So we'll certainly be looking at implementing it again for next season.